Hi, my name's Colin Zilka. I'm the course director here at Underwater Connection. We have 3 locations in Wisconsin, and I wanted to give you some suggestions and tips to help make your underwater navigation courses run smoother and a lot easier, and your students will have a lot more fun. The first tip I'd like to share with you is something that I've done through my entire career as a PADI instructor. Whenever I'm teaching a class above open water, for example, underwater navigation, I always make sure that the student divers know exactly what they're going to be doing during the training dives. But then I take it one step further. I like to ask them why they're taking the class in the first place. Is it because of personal enrichment? Maybe they're thinking about becoming a master scuba diver or a dive master or instructor. Maybe they're looking to meet some new dive buddies. You'll be surprised at some of the answers that you get. So by finding out ahead of time why the student diver is taking the class, you can better tailor the course to meet their needs while still following the standards. The next tip I'd like to share with you is something that's pretty basic, and that is before getting in the water, sometimes a review of the compass parts and compass operation are pretty important, especially if you have someone in your class who hasn't been diving in a while, maybe is a brand new diver, just recently certified. So a review of the compass parts and operation is always a good idea. This also lends itself to a good discussion of not only analog compasses, but as you probably are aware, a lot of the newer dive computers now have digital compasses built into them. Who knows, you might end up selling a dive computer with a digital compass after this class too. You'll also want your student divers to practice on land, either in the parking lot, at the dive site, or at the dive center, whichever is more convenient. This allows the student divers to practice with their compasses, get used to how they work, and it's a lot easier sometimes to correct mistakes in the parking lot than it is in the water and trying to chase somebody down underwater to correct their mistakes. You'll also want to make sure that you build in some practical application suggestions as to why they're actually doing that particular skill in the course. For example, when would a student diver actually use a multi-leg pattern, or when would they use a square pattern? This builds into the topic we talked about earlier, the pre-dive discussion. This makes your courses a lot more fun, a lot more interesting, and remember, application equals value. The more the student divers know why they're doing a particular skill or when it would be applied after they're certified, the more fun they're going to have, the better the learning they're going to have, and the more courses they're going to take from you in the future because they realize that your courses are very valuable and very much fun. Another thing I like to do with any class I'm teaching is to allow the student divers a little bit of time in the beginning of the class when we're in the water just to get themselves comfortable again with their gear, with wading, and dive procedures. This is also a good time to do your required pre-assessment of any student divers who you do not have recent experience with. This gives them a chance to get comfortable, relax a little bit before they start the actual skills for the particular course that you're teaching. I find this to be very beneficial when we've got brand new divers again, or someone who hasn't been diving in a while. This is where your pre-dive discussion about why they're taking the class or maybe their dive history comes into play as well. That gives you an insight as to how much they've been diving, how comfortable they are, how experienced they are, and things like that. When it comes time to start the dives, I like to select a site for the first dive that's relatively flat. This allows the student diver to concentrate on their compass and compass navigation rather than having to make a lot of buoyancy adjustments. Early success builds the enthusiasm for the rest of the course. Another fun tip is once you've introduced how to use either the old nav finder or any type of course plotter, and you have your student divers successfully complete a multi-leg pattern, you have each buddy team prepare their own multi-leg pattern, then have another buddy team run that pattern and see how close each buddy team comes to the starting point. You could offer some small trinket prize like a bottle of defog or a patch of some type or something like that. It adds a little bit of a challenge to the course, and it also adds a lot more fun into the course. The last tip I'll share with you is this. Once all the requirements for the underwater navigation course have been successfully completed, why not take a few minutes and introduce and have your student divers practice a skill from the search and recovery diver course. For example, a simple U pattern or an expanding square pattern. This gets them excited about the next class. And the important thing to remember though is that we want to make sure that this is done only after the course requirements have been completed successfully and your student divers have enough air and bottom time remaining.